सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरं व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्। 16th and 17th verse. अहमेकोऽपि सूक्ष्मश्च ज्ञाता साक्षी सदव्ययः तदहं नात्र सन्देहः विचारस्सोऽयमीदृशः आत्मा विनिष्कलो ह्येकः देहो बहुभिरावृतः तयोरैक्यं प्रपश्यन्ति किमज्ञानमतः परम्। So far we have seen some high level topics in Aparokshanubhuti. The first topic was how does a person become a seeker? How does a person become an adhikari? Shankaracharya said, by doing our dharma sincerely, by doing some austerity, tapasya, and by doing things to please the Lord. Swavarna ashrama dharmena tapasa haritoshanat. 3 things. Second thing, what is sadhana chatushtaya? This is the way to get sadhana chatushtaya, these 3 things. How do we define sadhana chatushtaya? Then Shankaracharya described it. What is viveka, what is vairagya, shamadhi shat sampatti and mumukshutva. When you start studying Aparokshanubhuti, we will realize the importance of sadhana chatushtaya. Because Shankaracharya said, one who has sadhana chatushtaya should do vichara. And you will notice whenever we get busy in our lives, whenever things take over, it's a great ability to reset our mind to do vichara. Let's say you traveled somewhere and you have come back. How does the mind feel if you have to study Vedanta the next day? It might feel disturbed. If we are able to invoke Shamadhi Shat Sampatti and realign ourselves to this study, very quickly it will get to its previous habit of doing vichara. So one who has sadhana chatushtaya should do vichara. Vichara means shravanam, mananam, nitidhyasanam. And that vichara will bring knowledge. That knowledge will lead us towards moksha. Because bondage is ignorance. So liberation is, moksha is getting clear knowledge about our own true nature. So that was also mentioned. Then Shankaracharya took up the topic of what is nature of vichara. Systematically is building up topics. Sadhana chatushtaya to vichara. After talking about need for vichara, he said, what is the way to do vichara? And in that, in nature of vichara, he mentioned 4 questions. First question was, who am I? Second question was, where has this world come about? Third question was, who is the creator of this world? And fourth question was, what is the material with which this universe is created? Differently, if you look at it, we have to do vichara on Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Jiva means, who am I? Jagat means, where has this world come about? How has this world come about? And Ishvara is who is the creator, what is the nimitta karanam, and what is the material, what is upadana karanam. This is called as vichara. Randomly thinking about some topics, Shankaracharya said, is not vichara. Getting clarity on Jiva Jagat Ishvara. That is vichara. Then 17th through 21st verse, Shankaracharya is describing a topic which is called as a mix-up between body and the self. How does this ignorance express in our life? He says it expresses when we mix up Atma and Anatma. And the kingpin of Anatma is body. You see in 13th chapter, how did Bhagwan introduce Kshetra? No, how did he introduce Kshetra? Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya vidhiyate. Kshetra includes this entire Anatma. Within that, Bhagwan only picked body. He said, Arjuna, you take care of body identification, 90% of your problem is solved. Of course, mind and ego is there, but even to get across this body identification is a great accomplishment. So here Shankaracharya is pointing out what mistake we commit. What mistake and how we commit it. And we should feel very happy, because Shankaracharya is pointing out our mistake. If we have reverence towards somebody and they point out a mistake, we don't argue with them. Nor do we say, you don't know, how to think. You're impractical. None of that. Shankaracharya is pointing out, we have to just appreciate it. 17th verse we had seen last time, that Atma is Vinishkalaha, means it is without parts, whereas the body, physical body, gross body and subtle body, both are made up of several parts. So how come we are mixing up Atma with these bodies? How come we are taking both of them to be one? Now let us see the 18th verse. He says, Manoj, everything fine? He says, Atma is the controller and body, pranas, they are all controlled. How come we are mixing up controller and controlled? Let us see the verse. Atma niyamakaschantaha deho bahyo niyamyakaha tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. Atma niyamakaschantaha deho bahyo niyamyakaha tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. Two indicators are given of Atma and two indicators of Deha, body. First indicator is Atma Niyamakaha. Niyamaka means controller or prompter. Controller or prompter. And what is Deha? Deha Niyamyakaha. Niyamyaka means controlled or prompted. Body is controlled, Atma is prompter. And second is Atma Antaha. Atma is inside, whereas Dehaha Bahyaha. Body is outside. See, literal meaning doesn't open up much for us. Controller controlled, inside, outside. And Shankaracharya says, Tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. In spite of this being the case, we are seeing body and Atma as one. What can be greater ignorance than this? So now pay attention to the word Niyamakaha. Niyamaka doesn't mean one who is controlling like a king controls a soldier. How king delegates responsibilities. He says, you go here, you do this, you do that. So Atma doesn't control the body in that sense. How does Atma control? By lending existence and by lending sentiency. The original source of any kind of prompting, any kind of action in the body has been borrowed from Atma. This is where the electricity example is very helpful. You have a heater and you have a cooler. Who is prompting both? Electricity. But electricity by itself is neither doing the action of heating or cooling. Similarly, Atma is that in whose presence all these conditionings start functioning. That is why it is called as Niyamaka. Means, how should I meditate? In my presence, ego, mind and body function. I lend existence to ego, body and mind, and in my presence, all these three are enlivened. Now where are we sitting? Instead of saying, in my presence, ego, mind and body are enlivened, we end up saying, I am the body. So Shankaracharya is saying, notice what is happening here. Body is that which is enlivened. Body is that which is prompted. And the prompter is the self. Body by itself has no existence. Body by itself cannot move. There is no sentiency in this body which belongs to it. This idea is taken up from an Upanishad, Kenopanishad. The first mantra is Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha Kena pranah pratamah praiti yuktaha. What is it that enlivens the mind? Prompted by what we are able to speak. Prompted by what each sense organ moves towards their respective sense object. And the Rishi says, it is the ear of the ear, mind of the mind, speech of the speech. He doesn't give direct answer. Because the moment we give a word, we put a word to the self, we will objectify it. So he says, think about that which is prompting the ears. Think about that which is prompting the mind. And in that commentary, Shankaracharya gives two very beautiful examples to show controller and controlled. He says, be very careful. Atma is not having any doership while controlling. Nor is Atma getting attached to the thing which is controlling. So it remains asanga and it remains nirvikara. Like what? He says in olden days, the kings and emperors who would be there, people would be after their life. Means they had lot of threats. And one of the major source of threat was food. Because it would get cooked in large quantities, it would be kept somewhere, brought from some other place. So the fear the king would have is, my enemy will poison me. So they would have a bird, some say it is chakora bird. And before the king eats it, the food will be shown to that bird. And if there is poison in the food, the bird would fold its wings and its eye would turn red. So if that happens, the king doesn't eat. Because that bird had either you say physiological feature or some cosmic divine feature by which the color of the eye would change and it would fold its wings. Now Shankaracharya says, if you ask the bird, did you prompt the king to do anything? Bird will say no. It doesn't even know that its eye has turned red. Sometimes our eye also turns red, we don't know. Somebody else has to tell us. But looking at the bird, the king decided whether to eat or not to eat. So there was no action involved in the bird's prompting. So he says like that, there is no action involved in Atma's prompting. And second example he gives is of a magnet and iron filings. If you keep a magnet, the iron filings arrange themselves in a pattern. But the magnet did not do any action to prompt the iron filings. In the presence of the magnet, the iron filings arrange themselves. He says the magnet represents Atma and the iron filings represent Anatma. So in the presence of Atma, this entire Anatma is as though enlivened. Okay, that is the meaning of Niyamya Niyamakaha. Niyamya is the body which is controlled. Niyamakaha is Atma who is controlling. What are the other two words? Antaha and Bahyaha. Inside and outside. Now generally, what we think is, everything which is inside the body is inside, and everything which is outside the body is outside. If I ask you, where is your heart? Literal physical heart. Huh? Don't give me philosophical answers. Where is your heart? You say inside. And where is this harmonium? Outside. So see, where have we drawn the boundary? Body. This verse is telling us, let us draw the boundary at Atma. Everything which is other than Atma is outside. Everything which is beyond the body, beyond Atma, other than Atma, is outside. So there are two meanings of the word Antaha. One meaning of the word Antaha is, it is a substratum, Swarupaha. Antaha doesn't mean like literally inside. For example, if you say, clay is Antaha compared to the pot. What does it mean? Clay is the substratum of the pot. Not that clay is inside the pot. So, Antaha word we should interpret as Swarupaha. Swarupaha. The rope is Antaha compared to the illusory snake. Rope is Antaha means rope is the substratum of illusory snake. Okay. And Bahya will be that which is superimposed. So substratum and superimposed in that way. So Deha, body is superimposed and Atma is the substratum. Second meaning of Antaha is that which cannot be dropped. Second meaning of Antaha is that which cannot be dropped. What is Bahyaha? That which can be dropped. Antaha is that which cannot be dropped. Bahyaha is that which can be dropped. Now Deha is called Bahya. Is it a droppable entity? Where do you drop it? Huh? Say that again? Not in river. That is the final dropping. He said, where do we drop it? In the river. In sleep. In sleep. See, we are talking about body identification. Guruji used to say this. If somebody tells you you are not the car, that doesn't mean you have to destroy the car. Car has a purpose, use it for that purpose. So if somebody tells us you are not the body, doesn't mean I have to ignore and not take care of this body. Or try to get away from this body. What we are focusing on is body identification. So we drop the outside world, we drop the mind, we drop the body in deep sleep. That is why it is called as Bahya. What is Bahya? That which can be dropped. What is Antaha? That which cannot be dropped. Even in deep sleep, Atma continues. Even in deep sleep, Atma illumines the absence of everything. That is how when I wake up I say, I experienced deep sleep. I slept well. There was bliss. Nobody says, I got destroyed in deep sleep. So that continuity which is there in deep sleep belongs to Atma. Okay? So that is the meaning of the word Antaha, that which cannot be dropped. You know, it is helpful to understand using examples, but those examples should not create some other erroneous notion. For example, we are said Atma is within Panchakoshas. So we think, like how you have containers, right, in your homes. You will have bigger container, smaller container, smaller container. And inside you will keep one laddu, let us say. So we think each of this container is like one kosha. And as you go inside, you will find one laddu or a lamp. Atma means we think it is Jyoti. We think it's a flame. And where is it? Deep inside. Now example, if it is helping us understand it is beyond Panchakosha, that is good. But we should not start thinking Atma is inside the body alone. That is why the word Antaha and Bahya is important to understand. Two meanings we saw. What is the first meaning of Antaha? Swarupaha. Swarupa. And second meaning of Antaha is undroppable, which cannot be given up. Okay? Now next verse, let us see. 19th verse. Atma jnanamayah punyah deho mam samayo shuchihi tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. Atma jnanamayah punyah deho mam samayo shuchihi tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. Shankaracharya continues with how this mix-up is happening. He says, notice the nature of Atma and nature of body. They are so different. What is the nature of Atma? It is Jnanamayaha. Jnanamayaha means it is full of consciousness, full of knowledge. Knowledge is not the knowledge of something. It is Jnanam itself. Knowledge of something is called Vritti Jnanam. Through our mind we understand. When we say Atma is Jnanamayaha, it is that light in which all knowledge is understood. That is Jnanamayaha. What is Dehaha? He says body is Mamsamayaha. Mamsamaya means it is modification of flesh. So how are we mixing up Jnanamaya Atma and Mamsamaya Sharira? Another indicator he gives, Atma is Punyaha. Punya means Shuddhaha, it is pure. And what is body? Ashuchihi. Ashuchi means it is impure. It is impure. These indicators are given so that we have clarity about nature of Atma and also Pratipaksha Bhavana towards body. Pratipaksha Bhavana means our mind is used to thinking in certain way. Now you have to undo that thinking. Generally when we think of body, we don't think of it as impure. But once when Vedanta points it out to us, this is how this body is, sadhaka can think of it in this way. That is called as Pratipaksha Bhavana. We had one paksha, one viewpoint. Now Vedanta is bringing Pratipaksha, another viewpoint. One very good example of this Ashuchihi is when the hair is on the head, a person feels very nice about it. Same hair when it comes in food. He feels very disgusted looking at it. So Shankaracharya says, look at this reality. How can something be fanciful in one place and disgusting in another? Two examples are given for this. One is hair, another is nail. Nail also, when it is detached from the body, by itself it is ashuchihi. But we have to meditate upon both. One, I have to meditate upon how this sharira is ashuchihi. I also have to meditate upon how I am punyaha. As the self, I am ever pure. As the body, it is always impure. Tayoraikyam prapashyanti kim ajnanam atah param. Generally, this mix-up which is happening, right, between Atma and body, we don't categorically make statements like, I am identifying with Anatma, or I am Anatma, I am body. We don't make such statements. These are all technical statements. These statements that we make, I am a human being. I am a human being. How will you look at this statement? Is it an example of mix-up or an example of right understanding? How many of you say right understanding? This is an example of mix-up. What has Vedanta said? I refers to what? Body or consciousness? Brahman. I refers to Brahman. And what have I attached that I to? When I say human being, it is referring to attribute of human body. Notice the practical aspect of mix-up. We don't say I am body, but we say I am a human being. Last class also we had seen that if somebody praises our ability to remember, we feel very nice. And what do we say? I can remember a lot. I refers to Atma, which is Jnana Swarupa. And when I say I can remember a lot, that ability to remember refers to what? It refers to mind, Antahkarana. Chitta, Mana Buddhi, Chitta Ahankara. Chitta is memory. So very conveniently, I have owned up the attribute of Antahkarana. So we have to notice how this is playing. If I say I am born on such and such date, what is it? Example of mix-up. Again, we should remember another thing. Transactionally, we might say it. Transactionally, we might say, I am born on such and such date. But what is our understanding? That will decide whether my samsara remains or samsara goes away. If I really think I am born, then I will have fear of death. But even if somebody says, today is my birthday, tomorrow is my birthday, but internally he knows, I was never born as the self, and I will never perish because I am the self. So that understanding will remove samsara. Another thing, which we worry a lot about. I am gaining weight, I am losing weight. Vedanta is very forgiving in that sense. Without doing anything, you don't have to worry about putting on weight. Why? Because I am putting on weight, that I refers to Atma. True meaning of I, But transactional meaning of I is going with body. Okay. Now the next verse, Shankaracharya is pointing out another aspect of Atma, which is Prakasha, ability to illumine. Atma prakashaka svachha dehastamasa uchyate tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. Atma prakashaka svachha dehastamasa uchyate tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimadjnanamatah param. This is Atma prakashakaha. Prakashaka means it is the illuminator. Illuminator. And what is Swachha? He says Swachha is bright. So bright is an adjective for the light. Atma is Swachha Prakasha. It's a bright light. Shankaracharya will write one more verse later to tell us that don't think of it as worldly light. Don't think of it as another light. Bright here means it is untainted by any other source. That is the brightness. And what is Deha? Deha tamasa uchyate. Atma is illuminator, body is illumined. Tamoguna doesn't have any ability to illumine. What is body made up of? Tamasic aspect of 5 elements. Panchikrita or apanchikrita? Panchikrita. Combination of tamasic aspect of 5 elements gives rise to body. This is how are we mixing up the one who is illumining and that which is getting illumined. See, Prakasha word when we use, we should not have our own definition. Prakasha definition is in whose presence a thing is known. In whose presence something is known, that is called as Prakasha. Sanskrit word for that is Jnapakaha. Jnapakaha. In whose presence you know. Tube light also we call as Prakasha. Why? Because in its presence you know. Sun is called as Prakasha. Because in sun's presence we know. Our sense organs are called as Jyotihi. In Shiva Sankalpa Suktam that word comes, right? Jyotisham Jyotihi. Jyotisham Jyoti means it is a light of all lights. So why are sense organs called as light, Prakasha? Same definition. In their presence we can know certain things. In the presence of eyes, we can know form. Therefore, eye is called as Netra Jyoti. In the presence of ears, we can know sound. It is Karana Jyoti. So, Jyoti is not only flame. Jyoti is that, Prakasha is that in whose presence something is known. Shankaracharya has a very beautiful and famous Ekashloki. He is asking the student, Kim jyotistava bhanuma nahanime ratrau pradipadikam. He is asking, what is your light? During the day, the student says, sun is the light. Ahani bhanuhu. During the day, sun is my light. Then he says, ratrau. At night, what is the light? He says, tube light. Pradipadikam. All other sources of light, they are my light. Then he says, Syadevam ravideepa darshana vidhau kim jyotirakhyarhi me chakshustasya nimelanadi samaye kim dhir dhiyo darshane. At night you are seeing with tube light, but when your eyes are closed, with what light do you see? He says, with the light of mind. The student is also very precise. He says, I see when my eyes are closed with my dhi, with my buddhi. Then Shankaracharya says, in what light do you see your buddhi? Kim dhir dhiyo dharshane. In what light do you see your buddhi? Then the student says, Kim tatraha mato bhavan paramakam jyotis tadasmi prabho. He says, I see this buddhi in my own light. And that Parama Jyoti is Brahma. Now you see, sun is also called light, tube light is also called light, eyes are called light, mind is called light, and Atma is also called light. Why is everybody called as light? In their presence, something is known. But which is the absolute light because of which everything is known? That is Brahman. That is this verse. Prakashakaha and Deha is Tamasaha. Yes. We see our dreams in the light of Atma. Yes. Because Amad, everything, but dream is nothing but mind. Yes, that which illumines dream is light of consciousness. Light of consciousness. Yes. That word swachhaha, the practical side of it is, we should not think ourselves to be someone who has done a lot of papa karma. Although, when we chant the prayer, that is only to become small in front of the Lord. That is not to think about, oh, I have done so many wrong things. Instead of that, we should think about the forgiving nature of Bhagavan. Instead of thinking about our papa, we should think about how forgiving Bhagavan is. That is also one aspect of Shuddhi. Otherwise, sometimes what happens, we hold on to something of the past and we are unable to let go. And here Vedanta goes on telling us, you are substratum of creation, you are infinite, you are bliss. And something is pulling us back, holding us back. So I should remember, whatever Vedanta is talking about here, it is talking about me. Otherwise, what happens sometimes is, we hear about Atma, that Atma is Prakashakaha, Atma is Jnanamayaha, Atma is Ananda Swarupa. We say, yes, Atma is Ananda Swarupa, I am sorrowful. What can Vedanta do, Again and again they will repeat this point. That the one about whom we are discussing is me. If you look at Vedanta as a movie, the hero of that movie is me. Protagonist of that movie is me myself. That's why the story of Raman Maharshi is very popular. One day he was reading some Upanishad and somebody asks Bhagavan, do you also need to read and study Upanishad? And he says, I am enjoying what is being spoken about me. He says, Upanishads are talking about my essential nature. I am enjoying what they are telling about me. This we have to keep in mind. Next verse, Shankaracharya says, the difference between Atma and Anatma is, Atma is Nitya and Anatma, represented by body, is Anitya, impermanent, and few other indicators also. 21st verse. Atma nityo hi sadrupaha deho nityo hyasanmayaha tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimajnanamatah param. Atma nityo hi sadrupaha deho nityo hyasanmayah tayoraikyam prapashyanti kimajnanamatah param. Atma nityah. Whenever you hear the word Atma, how should you reinterpret it in your mind? Atma nityah. In your mind, what should you say? I am nityah. That is what should happen eventually. First, if you understand Atma nitya is okay, then Aparokshanubhuti will be a joy. I tell you, to study Aparokshanubhuti, you need lot of steadiness. And taste also should be there for pure Vedanta. You will notice after Sadhana Chatushtaya, none of the sadhana topics are discussed. Of course, here and there we try to bring sadhana topics also. But if you ask Shankaracharya ji, he says this is the new taste we have to cultivate. Taste of pure Vedanta. Pure Vedanta is not academic subject. Pure Vedanta is my true nature, my pure nature. So Atma Nityah means it never gets destroyed. There is no time where there is absence of Atma. What do we generally feel? If body gets destroyed, I get destroyed. Vedanta is telling us, even without the body, we will continue. Existence will continue even without Sharira. That is the meaning of the word Nityaha. Second word is Sadrupaha. Sadrupa means there is no Bada of Atma in all three states. In any of these states, there is no Bada of Atma. I will explain the word Bada. Bada means when your one understanding gets replaced by another understanding. I was looking there and I thought there is a snake. But once I came to know there is a rope, what has happened to that illusory snake is Bada. So I had erroneous understanding. The right understanding came and displaced my erroneous understanding. Superimposition? All get Bada. Yes, all get negated. In the case of that rope, in place of that illusory snake, you can put this entire Jagat. when we go into dream state, this entire waking world gets negated. And you have another dream world. When we go into deep sleep state, waking and dream world gets negated. But Atma is that which doesn't get negated in any of the state. That is called as Sadrupaha. The one who illumines waking state is Atma. One who illumines dream state is Atma. One who illumines deep sleep state is the same Atma. That is why it is called Sadrupaha. Cancellation of false knowledge by true knowledge. Cancellation of appearance with right knowledge. That is called as Badha. Second meaning of Sadrupaha is, it is Satta Swarupaha. Satta Swarupa means, unless there is Atma, you cannot establish existence of anything. Atma is that which lends existence to this entire universe. That is why it is called as Sadrupaha. Sadrupaha. And what is Deha? Deha is Anityaha. Anitya means it is constantly changing. And even scientifically they say, every 7 years our every body cell gets replaced. Means every time we meet, technically speaking, we are meeting a new person. Because we have some memory, we remember. But sometimes if you meet a person after 20 years, your school friend suddenly shows up to meet you. The surprise which is there should remind us, Deha Anityaha. It's constantly changing. Atma was Sadrupaha, Deha is Asanmayaha. Asanmayaha means it has dependent existence. It is not independently existing, it is borrowing the existence from Brahma, from Atma. Okay, so 17th verse to 21st verse. Shankaracharya ji only spoke about how this mix-up is happening between Atma and body. But his way of pointing out was, he showed what is the definition of Atma, Lakshana of Atma, and what is the Lakshana of body. He says, because they are opposite to each other, we should not mix them up. But you know, this knowledge, it will start becoming one with us when we do some jnana sadhana. You must have heard this statement, right? Merely reading won't do. But when they say that statement, they don't mean to say that you have to do some action along with study. What they mean to say is, try to sit down with this knowledge. And think about, right now, what is my understanding? And what has Vedanta told me? How can I align more with Vedanta? And simple aspects, you know. For example, we have abhimana, pride, of becoming somebody. But we don't have abhimana, we will not have abhimana of being Brahman. We will have abhimana of being some Vishesha Chaitanya. But we will not have abhimana of being only Chaitanya. Why? Because everybody is Chaitanya. Everybody is Brahma. So whenever this thought comes, I want to be somebody special, we should get very alerted. Which upadhi am I identifying with? As Brahma, I am Nirvishesha. Why sit in some upadhi of this body and then try to be special amongst everybody else? He says, think about it. another aspect also we can see here. Vedanta is telling us, know your true nature. When we interact in the world, we do many things where we show that I have clarity about who I am and who I am not. One good example is, if let us say we have our own photo, we never go and decorate that photo. Have you seen it anywhere? Others might decorate, others might keep it somewhere. We never go and decorate that photo. Flowers will not put there. Why? Because I know I am not that photo. I know I am different from that picture. Similarly here also, getting this clarity that I am not this body. Whenever we forget this point, we start decorating the photo. But in transaction it is very clear. I know who I am, I know what I am not. So that point also we have to see, and at mind level also, notice how this mind reacts when there are different experiences coming from the world. In particular, apamana, insult. If I get too flustered by something that somebody says to me, I have to again rethink. This is Jnana Sadhana we are discussing, huh? Don't think we are discussing some other topic. After studying about Atma, Anatma, how should we think in our everyday life? If I am getting too disturbed by apamana, I should ask myself, why am I so identified with this mind? As consciousness, nobody can do apamana of Brahman. As consciousness, there can be neither mana nor apamana. But if I am feeling too disturbed, then I should take some time to reset myself. He says this Jnana Sadhana will slowly strengthen the samskara of Vedanta. If I only read I am Brahman, if I only keep listening to Vedanta but don't do vichara on it, then that knowledge will not get absorbed. Okay. Now next verse is very beautiful. Shankaracharya clarifies what we mean by the word prakasha. He says don't use the word prakasha and think that it is some worldly light. You will not find this verse in any other text. At least I have not seen it described this clearly. Atmanas tat prakashatvam yat padarthavabhasanam nāgnyādi dīpti vad dīptihi bhavatyandhyam yato nishi Atmanas tat prakashatvam yat padarthavabhasanam nāgnyādi dīpti vad dīptihi bhavatyandhyam yato nishi. Some verses he puts to wake us up. You have to really struggle to understand what he is saying there. First line is a beautiful definition of prakasha. Anywhere in Vedanta you hear the word Jyoti, Prakasha, what should come to your mind? He has said in the first line. Atmanaha tat prakashatvam. The light of the self is that. Yat padartha avabhasanam. That light in which we know things. Previous also we defined prakasha in this way, right? It was taken from here only. What is prakasha? Light of that self in which everything is known. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. In the light of that self, all objects of this world are illumined. What all things are there between self and knowing objects of the world? There is mind and there is sense organ. That you have to add. Atma will not directly illumine object. Atma only illumines thoughts. Thoughts illumine sense organs. Sense organ illumines object. But the primary illuminator is Atma. Thoughts illumine sense organ, meaning unless there is a thought behind each sense organ cannot register. If mind is not backing sense organ, that sense organ is as though not there. In that way, mind illumines sense organs. Now the commentator, Vidyaranya Swamiji, he gives reasons. Okay, the second line also we have to see. Na agnyadi deeptivad deeptihi. This light of the self is not like bhautika prakasha, worldly light, like light of fire. Agni adi means you can take tube light also. It is not like the light of these luminaries. Why? He says, bhavati andhyam yatanishi. Because there is darkness at night. Now you will appreciate the importance of commentaries. What did you understand by this line? The light of self is not like fire, not like tube light, because there is darkness at night. See the commentator, he gives some reasons. He says, if Atma Prakasha was like Prakasha of fire, you would never have darkness at night. Because Atma is there all the time. It is not that Atma is there only during the day and it's absent during night. If Atma Jyoti was like Bhautika Jyoti, you will not have darkness at night. Atma is that which illumines sunlight. It also illumines darkness. Sorry?
If Atma Jyoti is not there, in the night, darkness will be there.
No. See, if Atma Jyoti was like fire, in the presence of fire you cannot have darkness. So if Atma Jyoti was like fire, at night you would never have darkness. So it will be...
I think if it would have been like fire, then there would have been...
no darkness. Correct. If Atma Jyoti was like fire, there would have been no darkness at night. Okay. Second reason he says, the fire which is there, it is born and it perishes. Means at some point you light the fire and at some point you put out the fire. He says Atma is not like that. So if you say Atma Jyoti is like worldly light, it will have a beginning and an end. Second reason why Atma Jyoti is not like worldly fire. You know, these Mahatmas, their commitment was to Shastra and Shastra alone. So every word of it they cannot just let go. Bhavatyandyam yathonishi. He says, I have to explain why it is like this. So he gives another reason. Second reason was, fire has utpatti and nasha. It is born and it perishes. And Atma doesn't have utpatti, doesn't have nasha, therefore it cannot be like fire. Third reason he gives, this fire which is there, it illumines only the area around it. So other areas are dark. Atma is that which is all-pervading. And it is Sarva Buddhi Sakshi. It illumines all buddhis. So you should not take the light of Atma as some worldly light. This point is very helpful for not going astray. Because many people seek light in meditation. And they come and tell also, today I saw blue light, last time I saw yellow light. And if you don't have this clarity, we will also seek some light. Either some illusion or hallucination. You either see it inside or you see it outside. In both cases, we are bhatakte rahenge. We'll keep going here and there. So what is the meaning of light? He says, light is that in whose presence knowledge takes place. I'll just close with one point. Sometimes we have our own complicated idea of things, because of which simple things become complicated. Means we are unable to recognize simple things because we have our own idea of what that thing is. For example, when somebody says space, we think space means that which is infinite, which goes beyond galaxies. Now other person says, no, space is that which is between your palm also. It takes a moment. Oh yeah, this is also space. Space need not always be the one in the galaxy. If somebody tells you, you know Mahabharata, you have chanted Mahabharata. He says, no, I don't know Mahabharata. Mahabharata is 100,000 verses. Can you chant Karmanye Vadika Raste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana? Yes, that I can chant. No, that is part of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. So our idea of something sometimes stops us from understanding it in a simple way. Similarly, Atma also. We might have our own idea. Brahman is somewhere. Atma is some divine experience. And Vedanta is telling us that because of which I am able to see, I am able to hear, I am able to talk. One who is enlivening this body, mind and sense organ, that is Atma. So what Shankaracharya is trying to tell us here is, what is available right now, right here. Don't push it far. What is available in a simple way, don't have our own understanding of what that thing is and keep searching for it. Okay? Good. 23rd verse onwards, we'll see in the next session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.